Lloyd White, being the acting returning officer for the election of a Member of Parliament for the Hayes and Harlington constituency, do hereby give notice that the number of votes cast for each candidate was as follows. John Paul Bowman, Green Party, 571. Clifford Dixon, UK Independence Party, 1,153. John Martin MacDonald, Labour Party, 31,700. William Francis Newton-Dunn, Liberal Democrats, 601. Gregory David Smith, the Conservative Party candidate, 13,681. The number of spoiled votes was 118, and I hereby declare that John Martin MacDonald is elected to serve as Member of Parliament for the constituency of Hayes and Harlington.
Can I thank the returning officer and his staff for the efficient way in which they've managed this election, and also for the police for the security that they've provided us with. Can I also thank my agent, Helen Loader, and Roy Hill, their support, who gave us such tremendous support, and the whole campaign team of the Hayes and Harlington Labour Party who've worked so tremendously hard. Can I also thank the electors of Hayes and Harlington. It's been the greatest honour of my life to be able to represent the community in which I live. And I want to promise them that I'll do everything I possibly can to ensure their voices heard in Parliament, but also so that I continue my work within the community as a local community MP. Theresa May promised on 7 occasions that she would not call a snap election, and then called a snap election. Unnecessarily. She said the election would be about Brexit, and we received no detailed plan from her about what would be the future of our country's relationship with Europe. But the electorate wanted to talk about more than Brexit. They wanted to talk about what's happening in our health service, the waiting lists going up, people being treated in corridors, the underfunding, but also, to be frank, the exploitation of our health staff. It cannot be right that in the 5th largest economy in the world, we have nurses who have to depend on food banks to survive. It cannot be right. But also they wanted to talk about what's happening in our schools. The cuts in schools' budgets that we've not seen on this scale per capita since the 1970s. The staff being laid off. The classes being increased. They wanted assurances about the future of their education of their children. And you know, the young people as well wanted to know what their future was. Was it to be, again, burdened with debt if they had the ambition to go to university? And they also wanted to know about the future of our security. 20,000 police officers have been cut. And police officer after police officer have warned us time and time again what that means for our overall security of our nation and our communities. And so today we cannot prejudge the outcome of this election, and I'm extremely cautious to do so, but I think the message went to Theresa May that you cannot just run an election by reciting slogan after slogan without having a real debate about those policies. And to run from the debate with the leader of the opposition, I thought demonstrated not strong and stable, but extremely weak and extremely, well, yes, wobbly. So let me just say this, we can't be sure of the outcome of these election results tonight. But I give you this assurance that Labour is ready to form a government now. We take nothing for granted. If we have the opportunity to form a government, we will. And we'll put forward the policies of our manifesto, which became so popular. It will mean ending the cuts to our NHS. It will mean ending its privatisation. It will mean restoring the budget cuts to our schools, so our schools are properly funded. And yes, it will mean scrapping tuition fees for students so they're not further in debt anymore. But also it will mean negotiating a new relationship with Europe, which is based upon collaboration, access to the single market tariff-free to protect jobs, and not on one where a Prime Minister thinks that she stamps her feet and that's the style of negotiation to establish a new collaborative Europe that we need. So we're ready for government. We hope that these elections enable us to do that. But I tell you this as well, it was a vote of no confidence in this Prime Minister, her calling of this election and her refusing to debate the real issues that are affecting working people in this country. If we get the opportunity of forming that government, we will transform our society and rebuild it, investing in our public services, making sure people have a real living wage, making sure people have high-skilled jobs which enable them to have high wages, and it will mean giving our children a future. That's what Labour stood for, and I believe that's why in places like Hayes and Harlington we've had such significant results tonight. We go forward from this today in the hope that yes, we can form a Labour government tomorrow. But if we can't, and if the Tories do come back with a majority or largest, we'll be holding them to account right the way through this next Parliament. And I don't believe the Tories are in a position now to form a stable government or have this Prime Minister remain in office. Thank you very much for all your support tonight.
I'd like to thank the returning officer and each and every one of the staff that have worked on this election to ensure that our freedom of democracy has been carried out today. And also the police, who have not just worked tirelessly today to keep us all safe and ensure democracy has been protected, but work so hard all year round to keep all of us safe. I would particularly like to thank from a political perspective, the local Conservative Party, in particular my agent Simon Arnold, and the incredible councillors of Hillingdon Council under the leadership of Ray Pudderfoot. I offer my congratulations to John McDonnell for his victory this evening. People who know me will often know that I tease people who are even just a little bit left-wing as being a communist. I had a bit of a surprise when 5 weeks ago when this election was called I found myself on a ballot paper against an actual communist. It's too early. It's too early. It's too early in the evening to say how this election has gone. But I sincerely hope as the results unfold through the early hours of this morning and into tomorrow, that there is a Conservative government elected to govern us for the next Parliament, and not a government that is inspired by Das Kapital, Chairman Mao's little red book, and the things we have seen uncovered from the modern extreme left Labour Party. But the most important thing for whoever forms the next government to do is to honour the will of the British people who voted last year to take back control and leave the European Union. Finally, I would like to thank my wife Annalise and my 8-month-old son Jacob, who was possibly one of the youngest campaigners in this election. I sincerely hope that he does grow up to be a Conservative, because if not, he's going to have some very embarrassing photos when he does make his own political decisions later on in life. Thank you very much.
Well, good evening everybody. It's been a pretty tough night for UKIP. It's been a pretty tough night for myself as well. I must say I feel a bit lighter now, around about £500 in the wallet area, but hey ho, you can't win them all. But what I would say is we've got a very small team in Hayes and Harlington. We've done this, the election was called on very short notice. We've done this on a budget so small that even Hayes Football Club, Hayes and Yeading Football Club would have difficulty running on it. So we're still here, we're still fighting, and we're keeping an eye, because if the Conservatives backslide on Brexit, or if the Labour Party run our economy into the ground, then we will see a resurgence of UKIP, a resurgence of the purple tide. And we're here ready to listen to people about their concerns. We've listened to them in Hayes and Harlington for a long time now. Unfortunately, it didn't give us the right result this time. I feel sure it will in the future. I'd like to thank my fellow candidates, Liz Kemp, who's with us, who very courageously stepped in at the last minute in Uxbridge and South Ruislip, and has been a big help. And as I say, there's still a future for UKIP if people believe in us, and we'll be here ready and waiting to pick up the pieces when Labour and the Conservatives again make the same mess they have done in the last 100 years. But finally, also, I'd like to say we are prepared to work alongside other parties when there is something that's in the good of the people of Hayes and Harlington. And I'd say to all the other candidates on stage tonight, one of the most important issues that faces us is the Heathrow third runway. I've worked alongside people on this stage before. I stand ready, and UKIP stand ready, to work with you again to stop the runway and save our villages. Thank you very much.
Yes, if necessary.
And why do you think Labour have gained some seats? What do you think has worked?
If you
well?
look, I think we've changed the nature of political discourse in this country. We've said we wanted a positive campaign. We've had an extremely negative campaign against us, particularly in some of the media, unfortunately. But the positive campaign was based upon quite a considered manifesto, and yes, a costed manifesto as well. So we opened up the debate, and Jeremy was willing to go wherever to debate, as he demonstrated, toured all around the country, some traditional politics there in large meetings, etc., but also we've been able to cut through some of the elements of the media with the greatest respect through social media as well. So we've put our policies out there. We've had an honest debate, a constructive one. I think people have warmed to that.
And do you back Emily Thornberry in calling for Theresa May to resign?
Well, increasingly now, political commentators and some, by the sound of it, some Tory MPs now, considering her position is now untenable. I was expecting Boris Johnson to launch his leadership campaign tonight. Clearly not tonight, maybe tomorrow.
How do you think the media has treated the Labour Party and Jeremy?
I think some of the written media have been appalling, absolutely appalling. And from my own point of view, we can take it as individual politicians, but when they start undermining our families, attacking our families, that sort of thing, it's unacceptable. And I think the British people have rejected that type of politics. And I think what they wanted is a positive political debate. That's why I think we've changed political discourse in this country.
John, ITV News, you say you take nothing for granted, but you're ready to form a government now.
We've always said that at any opportunity. We want to remove this government because we believe it's damaging our public services, undermining our economy, and not establishing the collaborative relationship that we want with Europe. We can't predict the outcome of these elections. The Conservatives may well get back with a majority. We'll just have to see. But we've always stood ready to form a government.
Can you form a government, though, a minority government, and get the support you need?
Well, if we form a minority government, the proposal will be that actually we'll put forward our policies, our own Queen's speech, and we'll invite the other parties to support it. In that way, we could build a consensus around a number of these issues. And if you look at our manifesto, we've already built a consensus across the British people, and that manifesto was based upon the most detailed conversations and consultation any parties had.
Should Theresa May resign?
It's not for me to say, but it's quite clear political commentators and a number of Tory MPs now are privately saying their position is untenable. To call an election where you put the interests of your party in advance of the country is unacceptable in British politics.
What about Brexit, though? That's the big issue.
Well, the key issue for us now, the key issue now is if we get the opportunity to form a minority government, we'll be able to change the tone of those negotiations, and we'll be able to, we believe, achieve a better deal, tariff-free access to the single market, which enables us to protect jobs and the economy. If we can change the tone, and one of the ways we can change the tone is by guaranteeing the rights of EU citizens in this country immediately. In that way, we think we can get the best deal possible.
Can the country trust you? As Theresa May always said, if it wasn't her, it would be a coalition of chaos.
Well, the country obviously hasn't accepted that. We'll see the outcome. She still may well have a majority. We'll have to see the outcome overall. But quite clearly, the messages that she was putting out, attacking us, attacking Jeremy on a very personal basis, did not resonate with the British people, and I think they've rejected them.
And is Jeremy Corbyn vindicated in the eyes of your own party?